Okay, so let's look at our last page of notes on 2-5. We went through this proof here was the last thing that we did. Are we still okay with that? Yes? No? Okay. So then let's look at the very back. We're only going to do the lesson check. So developing proof. Fill in the reasons for this algebraic proof. So you are given that 5x plus 1 is equal to 21. And your proof is to prove that x is equal to 4. So generally we like to do some pre-proof planning. In this case, our pre-proof planning would be the actual algebraic solution, which they have listed here. So we're just going to go with it. And so what is your very first, I'm going to have you put down your reasons. You ought to be able to do all these on your own. So go ahead and put all the reasons over here as to why they did what they did. Bearing in mind that reason number 1 should always be, and don't tell me, 100% of the time. And if you're not sure, you can go back and look through this proof. I said don't say it. So share with those around you what you just wrote. All right, you ready? There it is. How did we do? Are we good? Okay, so get out a piece of paper. I want you to write down the following. We're going to do a little bitty proof. Because you didn't have to do a proof all by yourself. We're going to do one more proof and we'll be done with this particular section. And you are given the measure of angle 1 is congruent to the measure of angle 3. Your job is to prove that the measure of angle AEC is equal to the measure of angle DEB. And then your picture looks like this. I'm going to write all the statements down this time, and we're going to go through and explain why they are what they are. You write the statements down, and we'll go through the reasons together. sorry, there's not congruency on it, it's just an equal. Because I can't see. Sorry. Oh, thanks. I did 4 and then those two go together. I mean, these two right here, yeah, they go together in one step. Again, the more these proofs you do, the better you get at them. You need to start to study your proofs, both in your notes and in your homework. The more you study those proofs, the more likely that you come up against a new proof, that you recognize it and can associate that it's similar to a proof that you're doing, and you can remember what you did on one proof and apply those same reasoning skills to the other proof. So look at what you were given. You were told that angle 1 is, the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 3. And the picture even shows the tick marks in there. They didn't have to put the tick marks in there if they weren't, or the arc marks. If they weren't there, I would be placing the arc marks on that picture. Mark up your picture and put in there what you need. Our job is to prove that angle AEC is congruent or equal in measure to angle DEB, which will be this angle here. Well, we have part of angle AEC is equal to part of angle DEB. What do you notice about the two angles? What do you notice about them? Are they adjacents? Definition of adjacent angles is that they share a side. Do they share a side? No, they only share a vertex. They don't actually share a side. Don't they actually overlap? One angle is overlapping the other angle, isn't it? Adjacent means that they would be sharing a side. But one is actually overlapping the other. Where do they overlap? At angle 2, right? Isn't angle 2 where they overlap? If you look at angle AEC, isn't that angle 1 and angle 2 together? And if you look at angle DEB, that's angle 2 and angle 3 together. So they overlap at angle 2. So if I'm to prove that they're congruent, somehow I have to get that angle 2 in there. So look at the progression of the proof. We start with what? That's your given. So your very first reason is given. How did I know this? I was given it. Then from here to here, there really isn't any logic reasoning following from here to here. We don't conclude anything from this given. But this part right here, angle 2, the measure of angle 2 is equal to the measure of angle 2. Go to your properties of equality. What does that look like? It is your reflexive property of equality. It's a mirror image. Remember I told you that we're going to put that into a proof to hit you upside the head and say, hey, 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 remember angle 2 is equal to angle 2. And I'm saying that angle 2 is equal to angle 2 because I'm getting ready to add it to both sides of my equation, and I'm showing that it's equal, so I can add the same thing to both sides and create that and maintain that equality. So this is your reflexive property of equality. Then going from these two, because I didn't conclude from here to here, so going from those two, bless you, to here. Didn't I take this one and kind of combine them into here? Here's the measure of angle 1 here, measure of angle 1 here on the left side. Measure of angle 3 here, measure of angle 3 here on the right side. The only difference between 1 and 3 is I inserted measure of angle 2 on both sides. What shall I call that? I added the same thing to both sides. It is not substitution because I did not substitute one value for another. So it's not substitution. Distributive property means I've got something in front of parentheses and I'm multiplying it through. Didn't I add something to both sides? What is that? Addition property. So addition property of equality. But before I used it, I had to prove that what I was adding to both sides was the same measure. So I just re-emphasized it. Okay, I'm adding the same thing. Remember the same thing equals the same thing. Then, bless you. Notice that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 is right here. The measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 2 is right here, but I'm making them equal to something. So the two smaller angles equal AEC, because somehow I've got to bring AEC and DED into proof so I can get it into my final proof statement. What says that I can take the two smaller angles and add them up to equal the bigger angle? Angle addition postulate. I'm taking two smaller angles, and I said it that way on purpose because then you're like, oh, that's what that is. But you may not have recognized it because you haven't had a lot of experience at it. So we took the two smaller angles and add them up for each one of them to equal the bigger angle. So that is, and you can't just say the segment addition. Well, yeah, I'll let you say that. I'll let you say segment addition postulate. Then how come I can go from step 4 all the way to my proof statements? Look to number 3. Look above. I took this amount, which was the left side of the equation, number 3, and I went to angle AEC. Didn't I say in this one that these are equal measures? Aren't I replacing the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 with something that's equal to it? So I replaced it. Then over here, I took measure of angle 3 plus measure of angle 2, which is right here, and I replaced it with measure of angle DED. I took equal things and replaced it for something else. What is that? Substitution. And you're not going to recognize that until you start to really study this proof. So it's your substitution prop of equality. You cannot abbreviate substitution or subtraction because they look the same every week. I don't know which one you're talking about. So you're going to have, if you did not already have a proof like that in your homework last night, you're going to do a proof like that on your homework today or using similar things. Questions at all? Okay.